Atma is a game made in Unity engine by Team Atma, a group consisting of 5 game designers, 4 artists, 1 technical artist, 1 sound designer, and 2 font designers. It recommends you use a controller, which I did manage to plug in and switch to after a little faff, and after looking at the credits it also told me that it's a student game, made at Supinfo Game Rubica, which is a French video game creation school. There are a few spelling errors in the dialogue going through, but that would explain it, and all the dialogue is translated to English. I loaded up and got shown a nice little loading run animation before I was introduced to the story. There are powerful artifacts called urges, which dictate the world's balance, made by guardians, which you are, and once a guardian makes their urger, they graduate to become an elder. Guardians have a responsibility to protect the world. The art for the intro is almost like a painted calligraphy style. I can't put my finger on it specifically, but it's really dynamic and colourful, and though the story is written, it gives a good image to support it. I was told that I am Shire, and Atma is both the name of the game and my lover, a horned man with a little too much confidence who tries to make an urger before he is ready, with intent to stop the imbalance and bring the peace the Guardians fight for. You get a choice to try and stop him or to encourage him, but either way he gets slapped down by the god of fate, Yama, and is not quite killed but is very much unalived to the point where he's trapped between worlds and makes a rift for evil spirits to get in. You can choose how emotionally scarred you are from his death, and then you enter the story. Atma tells you he needs your help and that you have to find a key of his memory, which you can get from the ornithologist. An ornithologist, by the way, is a zoologist who focuses on birds. This explains a lot of the bird imagery you might see in the rest of the gameplay. Atma was the ornithologist's friend, so he asks you to go and find his key memory with him. I then entered the game for real. As you'll notice, this is a pixel art game. It's got really nice gentle soundtrack with bird chirps to match, and the footsteps are noticeable as one of the first sounds. Your first challenge is to make a path to cross, which also explained the drawing mode that I found by trialling buttons. You press B and hold RT to draw a picture to link points together and electrocute them into doing as you wish. After passing that, you then use this method again, but for combat. Flying spirits appear and you defeat them by linking them to each other and zapping them out of the sky. They're not all that easy to kill. Once you tag them, they freeze, but you only have a few seconds before you have to tag the other one or they break loose. Time slows in mantra mode, which is the real name for this thing, but it doesn't prevent enemy attacks or you taking damage. The spirits attack by getting distance and charging in, which is a bit annoying since your mantra box is only so big and you might be able to hit one but not the other if they decide to charge at you from opposite sides. The good news is, though, that you can wait for them to charge and hit them as they converge, but you have to be fast to make sure they don't reach you. It's an interesting mechanic that I've not seen before, and you not only use it for bridges and killing spirits, but you also use it to open doors and put loose souls back into their little soul stones and unlock memories to show you some of what happened in the build-up to Atma's bad decision. The big door leads you to a village, the village where some elders and young guardians live. You get a nice pan over to a few key spots, and are left to explore the village and talk to its occupants. Whilst I'm here, I'll mention the artwork, because this is the point that it really hit me. In short, it's incredible. I've said it before in a review of The Supper, but pixel art is really hard because it's really detailed, and to be able to get the gradients and colours to make things look shaded in 3D, you have to pick your tones right. The visuals in this game are stunning all over. The village is colourful, the character designs are interesting and colourful as well, the buildings differ in shape and build, there's wear and tear on the decorations, and there are little birds in trees, little frogs in ponds, and the well-known alpagas with their little ear flicks. Your own character's movement and animation is bouncy, and all the NPC character sprites have their own little movements and are all very unique. Your character has a glow almost, but there's attention to detail in that it fades in the shade a bit, but in really dark rooms it's so much stronger. The whole design together and the visuals made me want to wander and look at every piece of the village, because that, with the nice music and the sounds of rushing water and bird chirps, was just a really nice experience. You get to see that a few people tried to discourage Atma from his decision, and that you were also encouraged to use your own judgment on his actions and have the moral courage to not support him if he was doing something wrong, despite your love for him. I then went to see the ornithologist, who said he would let me into his mind and find his key memory linked to Atma. I then took a break and tried to come back and continue after quitting at this point, but when I tried to press continue in the main menu after the reload, I was faced with 2 minutes solid of running Shire and it just wouldn't load into the game. I tried quitting and going again, but it was the same. So I had to start again, which was a bit of a shame. Not sure how or when the game saves itself, but there's no save option, and if it did, it clearly didn't manage to load itself either, which meant I had to run through it all again. I did so to get up to speed, making the same choices in the text as before and entering the ornithologist's mind. He gave me the power of blasting wind in a direction of my choosing, allowing me to push blocks out the way or onto buttons, spin windmills to bring out platforms, and vanish poison clouds, or darkness clouds, whatever they are. I then found the Birdman in his birdcage greenhouse thing, and saw his last memory with Atma. Basically, another warning not to mess with the Urger or he was going to annoy Yama. Atma's confidence was strong though, and he was sure that Yama would judge his intentions rather than his action. The ornithologist then asks you to go and fix his Urger, which is in a temple, because it has the power to shut the rift and allow Atma to pass on to his death, balancing the world. But it's your job to do it, because you're a guardian, and apparently when you become an elder you just get to kick back and look at birds all day or something. So I went to the temple, which was again very pretty, and introduced a new mechanic, using wind to blow fire at things. I had a new puzzle here to unlock a door by freeing 3 statues from the grip of evil spirits. On the left path was an electric challenge to pass through gates and press buttons to lower barriers to let me get to the statue and free it. I was ambushed by spirits again here that I had to fight off, but all was well and I went to the other side. This was a wind side, and after blasting some vines I found a healing spot. There aren't many of these in the game, but you have 3 lives to lose to spirits, and if you do, you can use these to absorb power within and heal. They're a one-time use though, and I definitely needed it after the next section. It was another wind puzzle, an interesting one with wind chimes that punish you for having the thought process of, ooh, wind chime make ringing noise, and summon spirits every time you touch one. You can choose to battle them all, or you can choose to try and solve the puzzle without jingling any of them as you blast wind around. Once you free the statue though, the wind chimes are safe to jingle to your heart's content. Now this game effectively offers 2 endings. I'm not sure how much the choices you make in the starting narrative affect the ending, since you enter the same gameplay regardless, but the Urger is a big pot of power and you can choose to do your guardianly duties and fix it, losing Atma in the process, or you can take its power and choose to try and bring Atma back. I chose both, one after the other on a replay, but I picked the saviour option first. Atma seemed a little sad that I did the right thing despite the villager's joy, though he did praise me for it, and I followed him back to his tomb for a final chat before he laid to rest. In short, I knew the chat wasn't going how I thought when I saw the colour and music change in the final area. Atma's ambition was too much, and he wasn't ready to leave me for the dead, so he tried to take me with him on a final spiritual road trip. I was not prepared for a final boss. I thought this was going to end peacefully, but suddenly I had a big, glowing, screaming demon in my face. You can tell my shock by my immediate reaction to vanish off the bottom of the screen, but after that it was a good fight. You have to hit the demon in all 6 chest eyes, and then it spawns skulls that you have to beat before you can have a crack at it again. The skulls shoot stuff at you, charge you exactly like the normal spirits, and have multiple hit points. This boss fight is a great way to use both of your abilities. You can get away with only using one, but at one point poison clouds spawn that you can push away to increase your movement room with the wind power. It's also quite tricky, and this isn't helped by the camera wanting to lock onto the demon and you having to run almost off the bottom of the screen to make the camera move down to fight the skulls when they come out. One time I actually took damage off a skull that I couldn't see in the bottom portion of the screen because the camera was still locked on top until I was right on top of it. I wondered if the boss would be different with the different ending. If you choose to take the Urger's power, the spirits take over. The environment's dull and change with spirit tendrils everywhere, The village collapses, and instead of fighting Atma at the end, you have to fight Yama, who shows up to slap you too for your disrespect. Sadly, the boss is the same, though not in colour at least. So what do I think about this game? It has a couple of flaws in the continue game not really working and making you have to replay from the start if you stop, or at least not telling you how to save if there is a way to do so, and the awkward camera lock thing in the boss fight. The spelling mistakes aren't ideal, but they don't break the game, and the spirits can be a bit annoying to fight when they spread far enough apart that you can't reach both of them in the mantra box, or their attack rush timings don't line up enough to allow you to freeze and link both of them in the needed time limit. I will say that it's hard to get as attached to Atma. You're told you love him, but since he's already a little bit overconfident at the point you connect with the story, he's a bit harder to like. It's almost sadder to see the alpaca died. However, there are a lot of great parts about this game. The environment and sound design is fantastic. I like their choice of style for the buildings and the clothes, and the sound effects are great, footsteps especially changing to match the floor, be it sand, grass, stone, or bridge. There are, I think, 13 different areas in the whole game, and all of them have been given equal care and attention from what it looks like. The visuals and animations are really eye-catching, and the character designs are really interesting and unique. The puzzle-type mechanics are varied and mostly unique too. I thought you were going to gain a firepower of your own and it be a typical elemental thing, but the game found a way to do it with only a couple of basic skills. It's easy to control and understand, the story is simple but again unique, and the choice of 2 routes gives a bit more variety to the game. You have minimal skills but a lot of ways to apply them, some basic puzzle mechanics like block pushing, but the mantra mechanic to select your wind direction or draw and link objects is an idea that works really well. It's a game with a lot of character, and had they more time it would have been great to see maybe a few more key memory unlocks with other characters that would require more different puzzles. There's also a really nice feature that I should mention where you're normally walking around, but as soon as an enemy spawns you immediately start running, which gives you much better chance to dodge attacks and really helps break up any frustration at your character's movement, because a lot of walking around can be a little slow at times. The combat wasn't too hard, there was challenge in timing and prioritising which spirit to tag first, and the final boss was challenging in both dodging and using your abilities as you saw fit to fight as you wanted to. The game also keeps dead enemies spawned in so that you can use them to chain to still alive ones, since if a single enemy escapes your attack, you'd have nothing to chain them to be able to attack them, so it lets you use defeated ones. I like the game, and big props to the students who made it. I've tried several student projects at this point, but this wins over the others for originality in my opinion to this point. It took me about an hour to play through the first time, not including replayed time from my failed load, and it was a further 20 minutes for a bad ending replay, which was much faster since I cut out some exploration and I knew how to solve the puzzles. In terms of replayability, you've pretty much got your 2 endings, so once you've got those, there's not too much more you can get from it. It's a game that's worth a try for an hour of playtime and nice environments and visuals, so I'll give Atma a 9 out of 10.